Good morning, grade 12. This is your IT lesson. It is the 13th of May, and we are working on 2D arrays. Okay. As usual, the chat is open. If you have any questions, please feel free. Just raise your hand or wave at me using the functions. Welcome to those that have just joined. Okay, so we've started looking at our 2D arrays, and today what we're going to do is we're going to look at 2D arrays with data. So the 2D arrays that you've worked with up to now is things like a multiplication table or a chess board. But now we want to start entering actual data. Say, for example, your marks, or if you are busy with statistics, you can use a 2D array. Okay, let's resume my slideshow. Okay, so in the previous unit, the data for the arrays were either entered manually, as in the chess example, or generated automatically using numbers. There is an additional method that can be used to add data to arrays. Now, what's nice about this, you are basically, if you do this method, you've done a slam dunk on two parts of your pad. One is doing a text file, and two, using an array. Okay, so the additional way of doing it is to read the data from a text file or a database. So to see how this can be done, you will use the following data set. So we're going to use the marks.csv. So in the folder that I shared with you guys, I just want to get to the folder there. Come now. Okay, so this is the school marks folder with the program in, and over there we have the marks.csv. It's an Excel document that we are going to import. So remember, you can use text files, Excel, and Access. Basically anything that you can create a list with, you can import into your database. Okay, so what we have here are the student numbers, pretty much like we have at school. You've got your admin numbers, your age, if there are fees outstanding. Say we are going on, we decide to go to, we are going to organize an IT trip, and we're going to go overseas, and we are going to go to Microsoft or Google, and we have to raise funds for that. Okay, and then it will be based on your test marks and your assignments to see which students will be able to go. Okay, so test 1 is the marks, test 2 an assignment, for example, like your PAT, and what you received in your exams. Okay, so that is a basic database that we have over here. Okay, so example 3.4, adding data to an array. Open the project saved in your 03 school marks folder. You should see the following user interface. So as you can see, it's a very simple one. It has a DB grid in. There's a button for CSV, and then a bunch of buttons on the side here or underneath. In the following example, testing for the existence of the file is left out to keep the code simple. So I will show you the actual code shortly. I'm just first going to work it in the PowerPoint. The code for the CSV into array procedure is given. So let's take a look at this procedure CSV. So that is import your data from your Excel database into your array. So I've got my variables, S data, I've got I comma, because you will shortly see, let's quickly actually open that folder for you. Okay, as you can see here, all of my fields are separated by commas. So my delimitator in this instance is a comma. So in a text file, remember, you can use anything. It can be spaces, it can be hash and a comma. It's up to you. as whatever you're going to specify as the delimiter is going to be what will separate the different fields. Okay. So there are our two fields, our row, our column, I and J. Then we've got our text file, FCSV. Okay, here just some information, a data array 1 to 5. So my row is 1 to 5. My columns are going to be 1 to 7 of integer. And these were declared globally. So you didn't have to go and redeclare it here, but I think they put it in here so because you don't have the entire program. Okay. Then, as usual, when I'm working with a text file, remember your 7 steps. You're going to start with assign the file, then whatever your variable name for your text file is going to be, and then the actual name, marks.csv. We reset the file. Now, the reason we reset it is so that it goes back to the first instance. And then what I wanted to do is go and read each line. So from my new text file, FCSV, and then I want the S data. See, we've declared S data over there. Okay, and then you're going to start your for loop. So for I, 1 to 5 do. So for my rows, 1 to 5. Okay, let's take a look at the next part. Then begin, read line, and go and read the data into my CSV text file. Then I'm going to start with my columns. Remember, so if I go back here, this is my outer loop, and this is going to be my inner loop. So always remember the outer and inner loops when it comes to 2D arrays. Okay. Then I comma. So what I want to do is go through my S data, go and find the position of the comma and assign it to I comma. Okay. Then you are going to do your test. So here you do your test of your text file. Go and see if I comma is greater than 0. If it's true, then what you're going to do is you're going to go and read. Remember the copy function in your text file. So you're going to read the S data from position 1 up to I comma minus 1. So up to the comma, okay, the position of the comma minus 1. So you stop just before the comma. That is what the minus 1 is for. Okay, so once I've copied it, and I'm going to assign it to my A data, index I and J. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this section. Okay, so I've read it, I've copied it. Now I'm going to delete it so it shifts up. Think again like a vending machine. Every time that you buy an item like a packet of chips or a cool drink, the other products move down, okay, or they move up so that they are next in line. Else, if it was false, then you're going to say S data from position 1, and you're going to find the link. So this is going to keep doing, it's going to keep shifting and keep going through your loop, looking for the comma, copying and deleting, copying, delete, copy, delete, and writing it to A data, I and J. And when it's on the last one, remember, else, it's going to find the length of S data, and it is going to copy it and assign it to the last A data. Okay, so that's not too difficult. So let's quickly just see what it looks like in the program itself. Let's find it here. There we go. Okay, so here's my design. I've got my results. There's my read CSV. Okay, I just want to get the correct file here next to me to make sure that we have all the data here. Okay, so at the top here, there's our uses. There's a new one, generics.collections, but what it's going to do is it will go and find that for you. Here are all my buttons that I've declared. Okay, and my variable, remember, you always have to go and declare your array globally. Okay, So in that other procedure, there it is, just to show you, because I only gave you this section, but in actual fact, you declare it globally up at the top. Okay, so let me see here. So I've got my S data string, I comma ij. Okay, then I begin. I assign my file fcsv, and then the actual name of my text file. I reset it. I read my line. For I1 to 5 do, so my rows, read all my rows. And while I'm busy looping through my rows, I want to loop through my columns at the same time. So when I'm dealing with 1, I'm going to deal with column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I go to 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you understand how that works, your outer and inner loop? Okay, then we are going to find our position. I think this is the complete code for it. Let's just see here. Then we are going to go to the button read. So when we click on the button read, it's going to be I and J. So I've begin my CSV into array. I've declared that up at the top. Let's just see. Oh, wait, here are different buttons. Let me just find the correct button here. Let's see, is it going to go there? Was it supposed to read that one? I've got button 10, button 11, button 13. So I'm just trying to, okay, here's a button 1. So I'm going to help you with declaring each button. I would like you to please do this activity. So first we're going to declare our variables, and we've got J, which is going to be an integer. Then I'm going to have sum, and it is going to be an integer also. Then I'm going to, let me just highlight this section so I don't code the wrong section. Then I'm going to have average mark sign, and that is going to be a double. So please go and read up again about doubles. Okay, so I begin. So the first thing I'm going to do is initialize my sum to 0. Then I'm going to start my for loop for J, assign 4 to 7, do. Okay, and then I've got a new begin inside my for loop, and I'm going to inside there assign use my sum plus a data index. So my row is 3 because I'm starting there, carry on from 4, and J, which I have declared earlier. Okay, there's my end. And then I'm going to write my marks here. So average mark, assign sum divided by 4. And I'm using a list box here. So that was not a DB grid, it was a list box. Results.items.add. And I'm going to have an empty string. Okay, then list box results.items.add. And here I'm going to use, remember in that format that we used in the grade 11 textbook, you can use your floating format. So just make sure that you do it correctly, but it's important that you are able to acknowledge when it is in a different format. So 2003 is, and then percentage sign dot 2f. Okay, and then I've got my square brackets, my index, average mark, square bracket, and round bracket. Oh, got too many round brackets. Okay, so basically this is the average mark of, I think there might be too many zeros in there, is that percentage, my floating format, so a fixed format. You can use your float to string F instead of this version, but make sure you know what the percentage.2F is in your grade 11 textbook. Okay, so let's see if we run it and if our button 1 is going to work. So here I'm going to first let's see, why is it giving me an issue? And this is under CSV into. Reset Fs. Can any of you see what the problem is there? Okay, let's say step over. Let's see if it will there. Okay, so here is just if my CSV wasn't reading correctly there. The code, I might have deleted something, so just go and check that for me. But there is the button. So at the moment, these buttons aren't coded, and I'd like you to code all 15 buttons for me. But basically here was, I wanted the average mark of, this was my admin number. Okay, so there are different questions that you will have to answer there. Okay. Would you like me to do another button? You guys are very quiet this morning. Okay. I'm going to do, let's see, I've got time for one more button, then I'm going to carry on with the code. So let us go and find button 2. Okay. So we're going to quickly see if we can find button 2. And I go to my design, my code here. I'm going to declare my variable. Okay, so again, J, it would actually be almost better to go and declare your J at the top, so that you don't have to keep doing it, but otherwise over here is fine. Okay, then I've got my highest, which I'm going to initialize to 0, the same as sum in the previous one. So question 2 is go and declare the highest. Then again, we're working from for J, assign for 4 to 7, do. Okay, and do my begin. Always have a begin end in a for loop. It just makes it reading much, much easier, and it knows where to start. And then here's my test. If a data and my parameters, I want to index 2 row, and whatever the value is in the column for J is greater than highest, then assign to highest. So highest, assign a data, square bracket 2, J, square bracket. Okay, then afterwards, outside your loop, make sure it's not inside the loop, otherwise it's going to, for every single one, it will go and write it. So outside my loop, I'm now going to display it in my list box. So results.items.add, using the format, the highest mark of 2002 is %, D apostrophe, and my variable highest. Here we go. Okay, So I'm just going to pause, stop the run there. Okay. So if I ran it, I'm going to have the same error as the previous time. We're just going to step over that error. Okay. And if I declare there is 2, okay, so it might just be a problem. I first have to go and read my CSV, but you can see basically how it is going to be displayed. Okay. So let us go back into our PowerPoint. So that was that activity. Now, we are going to quickly look at some questions. I'm going to go out of my presentation mode so that I can write on it. Okay, the question here is, based on the code in example 3.4 above, answer the following questions. What is the purpose of this procedure? So let's just go back up here. What is the purpose of this procedure? What are we trying to do? Okay, we are trying to, I'm just going to change colors here. Let's see if the yellow writes. Yes. So what I'm trying to do is the CSV into array procedure reads the data from a .csv file, okay, that Excel file, into a 2D, actually I wanted to write this, sorry, into the next slide. Into a 2D array for later use. Okay, let's look at question 2. Question 2 said, describe the purpose of the following lines for I1 to length A data do. So let's go back there. Let's find that for I1 to length. Where's my for loop? Okay, we're just going to work it over here. So what does the code for I1 to length A data do? And what we've got here is it loops from 1 for the number of rows. Okay, so you need to be able to explain. So what could happen in your theory exam is they are going to give you a piece of code and ask you questions on it. So you must be able to go and take this, this question above here and tell me exactly what each line is doing. So I'm going to help you with another couple, and then you're going to finish that for homework. Okay, so the second question here was, what does read line CSV comma S data do? So that, what it does is it reads a row or a line, depending on how you see it, from the CSV file into the S data variable. Okay, so let's see the third one here. For J, assign 1 to length A data position 1, index 1 do. What that one is going to do, it's going to loop from one of the number of columns in the 2D array. Okay, so one of the columns from 1 to whichever, however many columns there are, it's going to loop through that. Question D, I comma assign ANSI pos, the comma S data. So what that is, basically it says find the position of the comma. Okay, so you could either have used pos or antipos. You can see those. Okay, so let me quickly help you with these. I'll type them out. Number 3 was loop from 1 for the number of columns in the 2D array. Question 4 was I comma the ANSI pos question, and what that piece of code is doing, it finds the position on the first column on the first comma in S data. Okay, question 5 here says A data my index I and j, assign string to int, copy the S data from I comma minus 1, from first position I comma minus 1. So what is it basically doing? It copies a substring. So that substring is a part of a string from where? From my S data. From which position? Character 1. Okay. So in here, that was already about 2 marks. Okay. The number of characters represented by 1 less than the position of the comma, that's another mark. Okay. This will exclude, where am I now? This will exclude the comma from the substring, and the substring is converted to an integer and stored in the 2D array in a specific position. Okay, so let's quickly see how many marks this would have been. So 1 mark here for copy a substring from S data into character 1, another one. So the next mark, I would almost give you 2 marks, because firstly you're stating from where and position. Then the third one would be up to your comma, so 3 marks. And then where is it being written to, maybe 4 marks. So between 3 and 4 marks for that question. Okay, so I'd like you to finish that activity. I'm going to quickly go on to the next section. We're probably not going to get through everything, so tomorrow I will carry on with the same slide, and then we will slowly but surely work through it so that you can see practically how this works. Okay, so working with rows of data. In your 2D array above, each row contains information about a single entity, in this case, a student. So the student with all its information is still a single entity. Now you've learned about this when we did with normalization and when we worked with databases. This is typical when you read data from a CSV file or a database into an array. In contrast, each column contains information about a specific field. For example, the first column, your column A, contains all the student numbers, while the second column contains the students' ages. So in this instance, I have just taken a screenshot directly from the CSV file. It wasn't divided up into columns, but what you are going to do is you're going to read up to your delimitator, and then age will be in column B, fees in C, test 1 in D, etc. When you want to work with the data of a row, you can keep the row number or first index constant while using a for-do loop to update the values of the second index. Okay, so let's take a look at what is happening here. Okay. So this says find the largest mark in the first row. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to step through a row. I'm going to assign I largest to 0. Okay, so I initialize it to 0, and then I start my outer loop. Okay, so for J, from 4 to length A data. So let's just go and see what was column 4. So it was column A, B, C, D. So columns, I'm going to quickly just go back up a few slides so that we can look at that other, there we go, column A, B, C, D. So I'm basically reading the scores from test 1. Okay. Okay, so from column 4 to length 2, so however many columns it is. And I'm going to read A data. Begin if A data from position 1 and whatever j was is greater than I largest, then go and assign that into I largest. So in the snippet, a for do loop was created that repeats once for every column of the array. This is going to basically just loop through the columns. The for do loops counter 1 is then used to iterate through each the for do loops counter I is then used to iterate through each element of the first row of a data in order to find the largest value. Okay, so what it's going to do is going to bounce through all the columns, read through them, then and match it against my rows. Okay. I think what we are going to do is I'm not going to start activity. What was this? That was activity. We will work through this activity tomorrow so that I can actually show you in the code what we are doing. Okay. So guys, that is up to where we are going to get today. I'd like you to go and try it. See if you can at least, let's just get back to our picture. I want you to be able to code the read CSV file for me for today. Then we are going to work through, I will get all the, put together what each button, the requirements are. So button 1, button 2, button 3. And then I will work through the program with you and we will code each button. Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let me just go out of here. And please go and try that, at least get the CS, figure out how to import or read your Excel document. It doesn't necessarily have to be a text file. It can be in an Excel document also. The .csv allows you to do that. Okay, so great. I see we have some younger students here. I hope I haven't confused you too much, but you are always welcome to join these lessons. Okay, have a great day, all of you. And I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And I'm going to post this also onto the WhatsApp group that we have created. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.